All right, let's dive in. Today, we're going to get a little creepy, venturing into the jungle with this podcast. We entered the jungle and found something terrifying. Got our notes and the episode ready, so.
Oh, I love this one.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's so creepy.
So let's unpack all those chills and thrills. We start off with a team of explorers, right?
Yeah.
And they're going deep into the jungle. They want to document some rare wildlife. But as they get deeper and deeper, things
Things take a turn.
yeah, a very sharp turn. At first, it's like this symphony of jungle sounds, all the birds and insects.
A cacophony.
Yeah. But then it just stops.
And that sudden shift, that's what really gets me every time. That silence, it plays on something deep inside us, our primal instincts.
Yeah.
One minute you're surrounded by life, the next it's like the whole jungle is holding its breath. Your brain, it can't help but interpret that silence as danger.
It's like, that feeling you get when you know you're being watched, even though you can't see anyone?
Exactly.
That's the vibe. And of course, what happens, the explorers spot these glowing eyes just peering from the foliage.
It's like something out of a horror movie.
And their guide, who's super experienced, he doesn't even hesitate. He just yells, "Run!"
Oh man, talk about fight or flight kicking in, right?
Big time.
But think about it. You're in a jungle. It's dense. Visibility is limited. And, something's out there, something that might want to make you its dinner. The fear in a situation like that, it has to be amplified tenfold compared to an open field, don't you think?
Oh, absolutely.
I mean, it really makes you wonder how our fight or flight response would even work in a jungle environment. Like, what kind of challenges does that environment throw at our survival instincts? It's fascinating.
I mean, it's not like you can just scan the horizon, right?
Exactly.
Any rustling leaf could be a threat. So they're running blind, adrenaline pumping, and the jungle itself, it's like this obstacle course of vines and who knows what else.
It's like the jungle itself is working against them.
And then, to make matters worse, they run into this clearing. But it's not just any clearing. It's littered with bones. Lots of them.
And that discovery, that's a real game changer. I mean, it tells a story. It says, hey, whatever lives here, it's adapted to this jungle, it knows how to hunt, and it's probably at the top of the food chain.
So they went in as observers, thinking they'd document this ecosystem, and bam, they become the prey.
Exactly. It flips the script completely.
I bet they were terrified. The podcast mentions that the creature seems to be getting closer and closer. Did they mention any specifics about the bones? Like, were they from a variety of animals, or did they all seem similar?
They didn't go into that much detail.
Okay.
But that's a great question. It'd give us insights into the creature's hunting patterns.
Right.
But what they do mention is the guide, he wants to know what they're dealing with. So he grabs a flare, ignites it. Suddenly, the whole clearing's beige in this eerie red light.
Okay, so picture this. The flare goes off, the clearing's illuminated. What do they see? Is it what we're all imagining? Like a massive creature with fangs?
Oh, but pretty close. They describe it as having thick fur, long curved fangs, clearly an apex predator. It really makes you think, right, about all the places on Earth we haven't fully explored yet.
It's humbling, for sure, to think that even with all our technology, there are still creatures out there that we know almost nothing about. Have you come across any similar descriptions in your research? Something that could give us a clue about what they encountered?
I haven't seen anything that matches up perfectly. The combination of features, the size, the habitat, it's unique.
So they get this brief glimpse thanks to the flare, and then they make a break for it, sprinting toward a break in the trees. It sounds chaotic.
It really makes you wonder, did it let them get away on purpose?
Oh, you mean like it wasn't really trying to hunt them?
Yeah, like was it startled by the flare? Or was it something more, maybe some kind of warning?
Yeah, the podcast host seemed to think it was a warning, like they crossed into some forbidden zone, triggered an alarm, and were given a chance to retreat.
And that's a really intriguing idea, right? It suggests something beyond just a simple predator-prey situation.
Definitely. It makes you think about all those myths and legends, creatures lurking in the shadows. What if some of those stories came from real encounters? What if people stumbled upon something they couldn't understand and, made up stories about it?
Oh, absolutely. Our perception of reality, it's shaped by our knowledge and what we believe, right? What we see as a monster to another species could be a guardian or a protector, or even like a deity.
That's a great point. We tend to project our own fears onto the unknown, don't we? Instead of approaching it with an open mind.
Exactly. It's a reminder to be humble, to acknowledge that there are forces at play that we might never fully understand. And to respect the power of nature. This doesn't mean we shouldn't study it, but we should approach it with a sense of caution, too.
This deep dive is really making me rethink things. It's terrifying, but it's also kind of exciting. Speaking of learning, the podcast doesn't give us any concrete answers, does it, about what this creature was?
No, it leaves it open, which I think is a great way to end it. Makes you want to do your own research.
It does. Is it a known predator acting strangely? Or is it something entirely new, something undocumented?
What do you think?
I'm leaning toward new. The features, the size, the habitat, it all points to something unique. It's like a real-life cryptid. Can you explain what a cryptid is for those who might not know?
Oh, sure. A cryptid is basically a creature that people say they've seen. There might be stories or even blurry photos, but there's no scientific proof.
Like Bigfoot.
Right, exactly. The Loch Ness Monster.
So this jungle encounter, it could be a new cryptid sighting.
It could, and it reminds us that the line between science and folklore, it can be blurry sometimes. What we dismiss as myth might be rooted in real encounters.
Right. Our ancestors lived much closer to nature than we do. They had to rely on their instincts to survive, so they created stories. And those stories were warnings, right, about the dangers out there.
Exactly. Reminders to respect nature.
So maybe this podcast isn't just a scary story. Maybe it's a modern-day cautionary tale. A reminder that there are still wild places where, well, we're not at the top of the food chain.
It really challenges our view of the world, doesn't it? It's both terrifying and exhilarating. There's still so much out there to discover, so much mystery. Makes you wonder, are there other times when what we see as a threat is actually like nature trying to communicate with us?
That's a fascinating thought. Like we've all heard those stories where an animal helps a human out of nowhere,
Yeah.
and it seems like they're being altruistic. Could those be attempts at communication between species?
It's definitely possible, right? I mean, we usually think about animal behavior in terms of survival, or reproduction.
Right.
But what if there's more to it? What if there's intelligence and awareness that we just don't get?
It's mind-blowing to think we could be missing those signals all around us.
It really is.
And it makes me think about those explorers, how they reacted to the creature.
Oh, yeah.
Obviously, they were terrified, but could that fear have kept them from seeing other signals?
Oh, absolutely. Fear is a powerful thing. It can change how we see things and how we process information. It's like that saying, we see what we want to see.
Or in this case, we fear what we don't understand.
Exactly.
It seems like this encounter is telling us to be more humble, to question what we think we know.
Right.
And instead of assuming the worst, what if we tried to see it from a different perspective? What if there's intelligence and awareness out there that we don't even know about?
That would open up so many possibilities, wouldn't it? Imagine being able to talk to other species, learning from them, understanding their place in the world.
It sounds like science fiction, but who knows what the future holds, right?
Yeah, it does. And maybe encounters like this one are a step toward that future, reminding us there's still so much to learn about the world.
It's a hopeful thought. This whole deep dive has been an amazing journey, full of chills and thrills, but also really thought-provoking.
Me too.
It's changed how I think about nature, and it's left me wanting to learn more.
And that's what it's all about, right? Sparking that curiosity, that desire to explore and understand, what other mysteries are out there, what other encounters might challenge everything we think we know. That's what keeps it exciting.
Well said. To all our listeners out there, keep exploring, keep questioning, and keep an open mind. You never know what you might discover.
And until next time, keep diving deep.